Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Richard Smart.
For as long as I can remember, I love to talk. I love to talk in front of people, in front of audiences just like you. I just love to talk. And for whatever reason, people thought that I was pretty good at it. I would have adults tell me all the time, you really know how to talk so well. You know, you ought to use that and do something with it. Make something of yourself in your life by taking that skill that you've been given, and maybe you can make a lot of money just by talking. I said, for real? Just by talking I can make money? He said, yes, you can make lots of money. So I just kept my craft. I kept trying. I went to a contest, as I mentioned, in Philadelphia, PA. I participated in this national contest of high school students and was selected the #1 speaker in America. And people would just tell me, listen, you need to become a lawyer because lawyers get paid just to talk. So I get paid just to do what I naturally do and love doing? Yes. And you can get paid and you can make lots of money. And I began to have visions of what my life was going to be like. I can just be natural and I can get that house. You know that house on Lakeshore Drive in Grosse Pointe Farms? Yeah, that house. I could get that foreign car in the driveway. I could get that boat, that summer home up north, that winter home down south. Oh, my life was going to be made. All I needed to do was find out how I was going to take this talking and turn it into law. Oh, I knew I was going to. And you know, it was interesting during this time that I was tripping, because I was tripping. It was the 1980s. Some of you remember the 1980s. You know, that was the me generation. The generation where everybody was looking out for themselves, looking out for #1. You know, we had just come through the civil rights movement era, where our parents said, we want to lift the tide so that all boats will rise. And what did their children do? I want to get paid. And I fell right into that trap, tripping. So I was that guy. You remember that guy? You remember this guy, for those of you that are particularly from this area. I was that guy who you would see at Pine Knob. You remember that guy, canvas shoes, no socks, white linen suit, sleeves rolled up, looking like a Miami Vice reject, right? Popped collar of your pastel colored shirt, right? You're laying on the lawn. You might even have had your jerry curl with your activator. You remember that guy? That was me. Sitting on the lawn, drinking out of a plastic flute of white Zinfandel. Y'all remember that? Remember that? Listening to Al Jarreau, y'all. We're in this love together. Yeah, that was me. Man, got my sweater tied around my neck. You couldn't tell me my life wasn't set. I was ready. Only thing I had to do was figure out what kind of law I was going to practice. So I started to do my research. I graduated from law school and I started to figure out, well, what kind of law can I get paid? Because that's what life is all about, making money, y'all, right? So I decided I was going to be a municipal bond lawyer. I had no idea what a municipal bond lawyer was, but I knew they got paid. And I was going to be one. So I kind of finagled my career and ended up doing that, y'all. I ended up being a municipal bond lawyer, or at least hanging around them anyway. And I was involved in this intricate transaction. This is transactional, y'all, law. I mean, it's thousands of pages of documents that you have to go over, and you look at them, and it's very complicated legally. And I would do this day in and day out, and flying to New York to be involved in $50 million bond deals, and it was boring. Oh my God. And so unfulfilling. It's just my heart was not in it. But I had my idea of what my life was about. This is my trip that I was on. This is what I thought that I was supposed to be doing. Because I can talk, y'all, right? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make all this money. Because that's what I knew that I'm supposed to have. Well, I'm at my office one day, and I got a phone call from one of my superiors who said, Smart, we need for you to step in for another lawyer who's going to go out on a medical leave, and we just need for you to step in for this lawyer for about 2 weeks. I said, I want to be a good sport, a good soldier. So I said, sure, 2 weeks? I can do 2 weeks. Now, where is it that you need for me to go? They said, it's in Detroit. It's at a place called Lincoln Hall of Justice. I said, oh, that's very impressive. I said, now what kind of law is it? Now, I'm a municipal bond lawyer. And he said, a juvenile law. Juvenile law? That's just about opposite end of the spectrum from a municipal bond lawyer. But I'm going to be cooperative. I'm going to be, good soldier. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So came down, and for those of you who don't know me, Lincoln Hall is down the street. And I went, and I was plopped down right in the middle to do a trial representing these 2 children who had been physically abused by their father. I mean, it was a really bad case, and I wanted to win this case. I wanted to use the voice that I have. And it was a case involving a father who had physically used extension cords and whipped his children and had marks all over, up and down their arms and legs, and cigarette burns, lit cigarettes that he would use as discipline on his children. And the one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure I won this case, and I didn't want to have to call the children to testify because I didn't want to re-traumatize them. It was bad enough that they had to go through it once. I didn't want them to go through it twice. So they were off in another room. We did the case, won the case. I was very excited about it. The courtroom empties out. And the foster care worker comes over to me. She said, Mr. Smart, would you like to meet the children whose case you were just handling? I said, sure, bring them in. And I'm putting my stuff together on the desk, and in walks the 2 cutest little kids you could ever imagine. One was 9, the other one was 10. It was a boy and a girl. They looked like Huxtables. They were so cute. And she whispered something in their ear, and they ran over to me and gave me the biggest hug you could imagine. I felt just so warm inside. My heart started beating so fast. I never forgot that day. And for those of you that are old enough to remember the 1960s Christmas cartoon, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it was kind of like that. I had that little heart. And when I got that hug, it's like when the Grinch found out what Christmas was really about, that heart almost exploded out of his chest. That's how it felt to me. And I said, oh God, what is this in my chest? So I'm only there 2 weeks, y'all. I'm only there 2 weeks. 2 years later, the court saw fit to elevate me, and so instead of practicing law, I was now on the bench as a judicial referee with the robe and the gavel, right? And now I'm making decisions about how to positively impact children and families. And there was this one case I'll never forget. See, life has a way of changing your trajectory. I was on my trajectory for wealth, but life has a way of straightening you out. And this second case I got to tell you about. This second case, I was at the juvenile detention facility where there's a courtroom, and I was there just to hear preliminary hearings of kids that were arrested the day before. And there was this case, and this was long before I ever knew what these two words meant, transgender or human trafficking. I'd never heard of those words back then. But this case involved a young child who was a transgender. And this child had been arrested for theft and found out later the child had been out on the streets for a year, having run away from home. And the child was placed on the male ward because the child was anatomically male, but identified female, and was ostracized and teased and had to be protected. And the prosecutor was like, we're ready to dismiss this case. And they brought the case in front of me, and there was no family. No family, nobody in the courtroom except for this one weird dude in the back of my courtroom, an older guy. You know how sometimes you meet somebody and make your flesh crawl? And he was insistent that you should release the child to me. I said, well, sir, who are you? And what is your relationship to this child? He said, I'm the play uncle. Right? Play uncle? Man, you too old to be playing at anything. What's your name? He gave me his name. I said, well, I'm doing a background check. Had no ability to do a background check, but he didn't know that. I pick up the phone, and I'm really calling into my office. And I said, yes, I have a Mr. And that man shot out of my courtroom. Never to be seen again. I knew he wasn't right. Every time he opened his mouth, this child would cower. But that still didn't solve the whole case, because even though we wanted to dismiss the case, we couldn't open the doors to the juvenile detention facility and let the child walk out into the cold. Needed family, so people got on the phone, they started calling and leaving messages and never reached another person, just left messages. And I know we're supposed to have separation of church and state, but I prayed that day. I prayed that day. I prayed that somebody would show up to embrace this child. A couple days later, the case came back. The prosecutor's still ready to dismiss the case. And I'm walking into the courtroom, and I cannot believe it. The courtroom was packed full of people. And I said, please identify yourself and tell me, what is your relationship to this child? And the man got up, he said, I'm the father, then I'm the mother, then I'm the grandfather, I'm the grandmother, I'm the other grandfather, I'm the other grandma, I'm the sister, I'm the cousin. I couldn't believe that 13 people showed up for this child. And it was so wonderful. My life was changing and before my eyes. They rushed over to the child. The prosecutor made the motion to dismiss the case. And as I was dismissing the case, couldn't nobody hear me. Nobody was paying attention to me at that point. But they rushed and they hugged the child, and the child was going back home, y'all. And it just made me feel so good. That heartbeat that I talked about was just bursting out of my chest. Lastly, the third thing that happened that just changed the trajectory of my life. Now, this didn't even happen inside the court or the room or the courthouse. I wasn't even near the court. I'm at Myers at 12 Mile and Telegraph. It's midnight. My friends would tell you, I go grocery shopping to relax. It's kind of weird, I know, but I do. I'm at the grocery store. Myers stay open all night. I'm at the grocery store in the produce aisle. And there's nobody around except for this little old lady. She's about 85 years old and 85 pounds. No security. And I noticed this 6'4", 295 muscular man walk through the door looking at me. And you know how when somebody's looking at you and you don't want them to see that you know that you're looking at them, that you know that they're looking at you? And so I was trying to look at him but not let him know that. So I kind of try to play it off. And then he said, "You a judge, ain't you?" Uh-oh. I didn't say anything. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I didn't say anything. He said, "Yeah, you was my judge and you locked me up." Yeah, it's on like popcorn. So I said, I got to man up. Okay, I can't punk out. I got to man up, right? And I said, yes. And he came over to me, he stuck out his hand, and he grabbed me and he gave me the biggest hug. He said, I want to thank you. And I said, you're welcome. He said, I never forget what you told me when you took me out of the community. You told me that you were going to believe in me until I learned how to believe in myself. You told me that you were going to love me until I learned how to love myself. And I want you to know I love me some me. And I want you to know, Referee Smart, that I graduated from high school. I'm in college. I'm working full time. And I said, somebody I want you to meet. And I said, okay, who is he? He said, baby, come over here. And this woman, she must have been 11 months pregnant. She walked over with her shopping cart. He said, baby, this is Referee Smart, remember? She said, oh my God, he talks about you all the time. Thank you for saving my husband. And you know what I realized from those 3 seminal moments in my life? That I was given a voice. I was given a voice not for me, not to enrich me. No, I don't live on Lakeshore Drive. I don't have a boat. I can spell boat. I don't have a summer home, a winter home. I have a house I live in. So I may not be wealthy, but I'm rich. The voice that I've been given is to help the voiceless, and I'm thankful for it.
Richard Smart, ladies and gentlemen.